G'day everyone, welcome to the classroom again. In one of our lessons we looked at doing the edible colour wheel, which was our primary, our secondary and our tertiary colour schemes. So what we're going to do is go a little bit deeper into our colour schemes and we're going to look at warm and cool colours. And you can see the exercise that I've got up here. It's nice and simple. You're going to put your hand on the page, and if you have your paints, you can mix your colours to do your paints. If you're at home and you don't have paints, you can use colour pencils or whatever you have to create your piece of work. Okay, so in order to get us started, I'm just going to grab an A3 piece of paper, which I have on the board. And what I do is I usually get my students to put a border on the page just so paint doesn't go everywhere. And I ask them to create an approximate 3 centimetre border. If everyone has rulers, you're welcome to teach students how to measure 3 centimetres and put that in. The next thing we do is we put our hand on the paper, and you want to include some of your wrist as well, otherwise we get little squiggly hands on the side. So I'm going to trace my hand. There we go, nice and simple. Now we're going to start to put our lines on there so we can create our patterns for our colours. You can make them quite complicated, but I predominantly do this with a Year 7 class, and if they make them too complicated, it takes too long to do. So you can, for example, do circles. Now when you're doing your circles, you need to think about your spacing, and approximately 2 centimetres is about what you want to use for spacing. And teaching students actually what 2 centimetres is important, because otherwise they get too thin and it takes too long to do. So you want to keep going with that. You make the circles the whole way around if you wish. If you don't want to use circles, you can just rule lines. And again, they would be 2 centimetres apart. Before we start to go off and paint, I would suggest that you label your colours. Now, I would do it with a pencil so that it's nice and light and you can rub it out as you go. And you need to think about, you're looking at your warm and cool colour schemes. So I would write that on the board for students. So red and yellow are our primary colours. When you mix red and yellow together, you get orange. And then these are your warm colours. You've got your blue, your purple and your orange, and nope, not orange, green, and these are your cool colours predominantly. Okay, so what I would do in here is I would label it the colours in the order so that the students are able to remember that as they go. So I would go red, orange, yellow, red and orange. This is still yellow here, and then that's going to be a cool colour, red, orange, yellow. This one's red. So any shape that you've created, I would label so they don't get confused. So once you've labelled your warm colours, you want to label your cool colours. So then you're going to go to your purple, blue and green, and then purple again throughout the whole piece. And then once that's done, we actually use egg cartons in the classroom, especially for the Year 7s, if it's an introduction on how to use paint and how to clean up, and I'll show you how to do that later. So once you've done that, you've got some paint in your egg cartons. This is the first time we've been in the art room with painting, so we're going to make it easier to clean up. We just throw the egg cartons out. Then I've got some water. With your water, girls and guys, you really only need enough to cover the bristles of your brush. Otherwise, what happens is all the water travels down your paintbrush and it makes your paint more transparent, so it makes it more see-through. And we don't want that for this exercise. Okay, now, if we're painting 6 colours, Mrs. Herbert, you're wondering why you've only got 3 in your palette. Okay, what colour scheme is this one that you can see? Yellow, blue and red. Primary colours, great. So I'm a bit stingy with the paint, so I'm not going to give you all the secondary colours, but what you can do is you can actually mix your colours together. So if you mix yellow and blue together, you're going to get green. If you mix red and blue together, you're going to get purple. Good. And if you mix, what was the other colour scheme we haven't done yet?
Yellow and red.
Yellow and red, which makes? Great. Okay, so I'm going to make a start. So let's say I'm going to start with our red. Now, some of us will be neat and some of us won't be, but for this exercise, we're just going to try and keep our colours nice and clean. Now, if you go red, wash it and keep going and so forth, it takes a lot longer. So my advice would be if you paint all of your red colours. Now, there's times when paint likes to be scrubbed like this. This isn't one of those times. So if you don't mind, try not to be a scrubber. And then you can do your paint. Now, the other thing is I'm not choking my paintbrush. I'm actually giving it a little bit of space. My hand isn't actually on the table when I'm painting. My hand is actually up. And then that gives me more motion in my wrist when I'm doing my painting, when you're doing your mark making. Now, the other thing I do sometimes is, depending on when I'm up to a particular line, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I actually often turn my brush to try to get that paint off it and onto a particular neater edge. You've got your 3 colours. I think that's it. What do you think? I think you could probably make a start for that.